We are in Stockholm, the Venice of the North, except it's winter, and unlike Venice, the climate here isn't very Mediterranean. So, what do you do when it's cold and wet and miserable outside? You head indoors, or maybe underground. Stockholm's metro system is known as the world's longest art gallery. There are 100 stations along a 105 kilometer network of railways, and with a daily ridership of almost 1 million people, it must be one of the world's most visited art galleries as well. Stockholm's T-Bana, or Tunnelbana, began operation in 1933, and in 1965 a master plan was put in place for the metro system we know today. With more than 90 of the stations decorated by a team of over 150 artists, there is plenty to see, and today we're going to take a journey along the more modern blue and red lines to see what they have to offer. So here we are at the central station, and you can already see the design of this station is quite spectacular. They've cut a lot of these stations out of the rock and just left it like that, and then just painted the roof and painted the walls and made it look really, really beautiful. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this. Let's keep going on this line. Apparently on this blue line there's all kinds of really interesting stations. Our first leg of the journey is a short hop from the central station to Kungsträdgården, one of the older stations on the network. This station features a fairly conservative design compared to others on the blue line, but with an interesting color scheme, rocky ceilings and some creepy sculptures, there is plenty to see. Kungsträdgården is the last station on the blue line, so from here we switch direction and head north. Our next stop is Rådhuset, which means town hall, and this is one of my favorites. The design itself is fairly simple, with green tiled floors and a massive cavernous terracotta roof, but this is one of Stockholm's iconic stations, with the escalators making you feel like you're about to be transported from one world to another, and subtle but very interesting wall displays telling stories of Stockholm's past. Now I'm sure for people who live here, the topic of public transport must be one of the most boring things ever, but you must remember that where I'm from, public transport is pretty much non-existent. Our tax money just goes straight into the KFC budget for the politicians. They don't bother even thinking of public transport, and when they do, it just fails epically. So for me to come here and see an efficient public transport system, and even an efficient government that actually does stuff for the people, is quite rare. A quick stop at Vestas Corgan, which translates to Western Forest, and we see plenty of pastel colors arranged in all kinds of abstract shapes and long lines of mosaic tiles stretching along the walkways. Very cool, but we're about to head to one of my absolute favorite stations, Solna Centrum. There's so much to say about this one, and I'm going to start with the artwork. The moment you step out of the train, you are greeted with huge painted depictions of life in Sweden's countryside. As a tourist, I absolutely loved this because it really made me feel like I'd captured the essence of what country living was like without even having left the city yet. The color theme here is red skies and green forests, and if the paintings aren't enough for you, there are even three-dimensional sculptures and models on display. It really makes you feel like you're in a museum. And of course, you've got to throw a moose in somewhere. It wouldn't be Swedish enough without the moose. Like many other stations on the line, we have the huge cavernous roof and the beautifully lit escalators taking you up to the world above. Here you can enjoy a picture slideshow of the metro's history before heading down again and hopping on the next train. At this point, we are going to head back to the central station and hop onto the red line heading north, and here we find some seriously wacky stations. Tekniska Högskolan looks like something straight out of a 70s sci-fi movie, with bright colors on display everywhere, weird three-dimensional shapes in seemingly random places, and all kinds of crazy astronomy-themed sculptures and drawings all over the place. On the platform we find a quote by Isaac Newton. I'm guessing these are Newton's 3 laws of physics, and a giant apple hanging from the roof, which I'm guessing is something to do with Isaac Newton and gravity. From here, people can shout, "Beam me up, Scotty," and be drawn upwards towards reality, or like me, they can hop on another train and move on. Our last stop of the day will be Universitetet, and again we have some seriously wacky stuff, also in the theme of education and discovery. The colours and architecture are one thing, but once again it's the small abstract details that interest me most. We have what looks like a crossword puzzle on the wall, and on the opposite side more mosaic displays with each panel seemingly representing a different subject. One for biology, one for geography, etc, etc. See, education can be fun if you make it fun. I think the rest of the world could learn a lot from Sweden. And that is where we're going to bring this one to a close. I'm tired, my legs are sore, I'm ready for a meal, but I've had lots of fun. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed sharing in my adventure, and I'll see you next time.